Join us as we delve into some of the hot topics that both unite and divide us. We won't always agree, but let's commit to having those difficult conversations and open up some thought-provoking dialogue so that together we can start the process of getting back together. Listen, we've thought about it. We've even thought about it. Now let's talk about it with yours truly, James Kirklin, on the Intellectual Stew.
Pine needle, you know. I know, Tiffany, you're from Detroit, so I know you probably ain't never walked around barefooted, right? So you walk around barefooted around a pine needle, man, that hurts, man. I mean, that it can stick you like a needle, man. I mean, it can show up, bring some pain, right? And Elijah sleeping on that? Really? Are you kidding me? I mean, Elijah is sleeping under the juniper tree right now, doing all of this. But I believe God put him in that position so he wouldn't get too comfortable under the juniper tree. Yeah. I don't think God wanted him to get that comfortable. Why my comments not coming up on StreamYard? That's fine though. I don't care. I can read them right here. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing y'all's comments. Well, I'm seeing them, but I'm not seeing them here. But yeah, man, God had no intention of letting him stay where he was. Can I tell you something? When you find yourself in a position where you are facing depression, God has no desire to see you stuck in that state. No, sir, no, ma'am. He has no desire. So he puts you in a position where you're not comfortable, where he'll provoke you so much. Oh, that's why God did that. Okay, God, stop the comments. Okay, appreciate you, God. Okay, he was not going to. Okay, let me read it. Let me read this right here. Chapter 19, verse number 5. It said, "And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise." Oh, God, you something else, "and eat. And he looked, and behold," verse number 6, "and there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at its head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again." He got up. And first of all, the angel showed up. That's the shouting part of the text now. Because this is the thing, Pastor Long. When we're going through our periods of depression, when we find ourselves in dark places, we have to learn how to listen for the right voice. Because, see, it's going to be a whole lot of noise during those times. It's a whole lot of noise. Voices coming from here and there, and they come and they're offering suggestions, and they'll come like the serpent did to Eve and say, "Did God say you couldn't eat from all those trees?" So in your depressive moments, you have to be careful what voice you allow to speak to you. Everybody can't talk to me. I'm going to be honest with you. When I'm depressed, my phone doesn't get answered. Because number one, I'm not a real good public bleeder. So I don't want to tell everybody my business while I'm going through, because I'm not trying to bring you down while I'm going down. I mean, that don't make sense. Let me just go on and go through it and grow through it. And when I grow through it, I can tell you how God brought me out of it. Does that make sense? But what happened is that God was sitting on his throne in glory and dispatched an angel to see about him while he was going through. I don't know about you, but I still believe in angels. Even when I went through my depression, when I went through my divorce season, when I went through the hardest times of my life, even though I wouldn't answer the phone, it would be certain people that God sent to me in those seasons. And when they get there, they might not even know why they came. Lori Williams, one of those people, chose me. I ain't do nothing. But God told her. Other people that have supported my platform, all I did was just show up. But God, and they sent, and they don't know what kind of, they had no idea what low place I was in my life in those moments. First time, but look what happens. Feeds him. He goes back to sleep. How many times have God delivered you, showed you the way out, and you still went right back to sleep? Because you wasn't ready yet. There have been so many times that I thought God fed me, nurtured me. I mean, I was in custom suit. I mean, the right shoes on, preaching in the right house. And I thought it was my time. I thought he was about to deliver me. I thought I was about to go to the next level. Then all of a sudden, I went back to sleep again. Oh, I got to get one right there. I mean, in that moment, I thought I was ready, Lisa. I thought God was about to give me the desires of my heart. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I've got the custom suit on. I got the shoes on. I got the socks matching. I got everything ready. I mean, he's about to deliver me. He's about to put me in the place that I thought I was ready for. And guess what I did? I went my butt right back to sleep.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
But I'm not the only one. But I'm talking about me tonight. So y'all can tell your story if you want to. But that's where I was. So when those things happen, so that's what happened. He goes back to sleep. Verse number 7. And the angel of the Lord, what does it say? Came again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. Isn't it wonderful? And we're starting to see a pattern here, because we watched with Samuel when God called Samuel a couple of weeks ago, right? First time Samuel went back to sleep. What God do? Called him again. And there are so many times that, man, he'll call us and we might misinterpret the voice or we might miss the message. But because he's a God of another chance, y'all better stop limiting God, talking about he's a God of a second chance. But because he's a God of another chance, because he's a God of over and over and over again, when he calls and sometimes we miss the message, guess what he does? Thank God he calls again. Because he says he called again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. See the picture now. Elijah is depressed under the juniper tree, but all of a sudden he hears a voice. And the thing about it is he recognizes that voice. Woo! What you mean he recognizes that voice? I told y'all last week what the prophet does. See, the prophet hears a word from God and then goes before the people on behalf of God. So he can't go before the people on behalf of God if he had not heard a word from God. So when God speaks to him, he recognizes that voice. And look what happens after the second time, verse number 8. And this is progress, right? Because you know what? We have momentary lapses. Touch your neighbor and say, guess what? We will have a momentary lapse. It happens every now and then. But here's the thing. When you have a momentary lapse, how do you handle the momentary lapse that you go through? That's the question. That's the $1 million question tonight. When you face a momentary lapse, and they do come, how? I don't say why y'all haven't shared this yet, because I asked everybody to share it, and I promise that y'all getting this good teaching right now. Seems like y'all want to tell somebody else about this. But when you have a momentary lapse, how do you handle it? Look how Elijah handled it. The Bible says he went to sleep. God called him. He woke up, went back to sleep. God called him a second time. He woke up. But this time when he woke up, look what he said in verse number 8. And he arose and he did eat and drink. And guess what he did? Because he was obedient. He went in the strength. Thank you, Sue-Ann. He went in the strength of that meat for 40 days and 40 nights, because he got up, did what God told him to do, drank the water, ate the food. God gave him so much strength that it was enough strength for him to last for 40 more days. What I like about it, Elder Lisa Smith, is that the conditions and the angel provoked him enough until he moved And once he moved, he got the inspiration he needed. Isn't that good news? Isn't that wonderful? That not only will he call, but he'll call again. Because I know y'all, I know I get it. Y'all are on y'all way to heaven, and y'all are enjoying the trip, and y'all ain't never done anything wrong. But there's some times in James H. Kirklin II's life where I sure enough missed it. He called, but I didn't hear, or I didn't respond, or I wasn't obedient, or I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But thankfully, when it was all said and done, when the rubber met the road, guess what he did? He came back and he called again. Yeah. Let me say this again. I said it earlier. When we find ourselves in dark places, and sometimes we do it, we're human. The pressures of life are real. If it ain't the cat, it's the dog. If it ain't the husband, it's the wife. If it ain't the husband, it's the wife. It's because people live in misery, and we hear so much bad news. We're programmed to hear bad news. And that has a way of shaping our psyche because it shows up in our mind. And when it shows up in our mind, a lot of times it shows up in our mouths. But when I was talking to a young man. He asked me what my age was. And I told him I was in my 50s. He like, 50s? I said, yeah. He said, man, I'm not even 40 yet. Can you tell me some advice, for turning when I turn 40? What kind of advice would you give me? I said, I don't offer advice, but if you ask me, I'll give it to you, right? I'll give it to you. I don't have no problem with that. I'll give you some advice. So I told him when he got about 40 years old that he would learn how he'll pick up, and I don't know if women feel it because I can't speak for women. I'm a man. But he'll discover that he has a metaphorical remote control. And when you have a metaphorical remote control, you use that metaphorical remote control to control the goings on in your life, right? And sometimes you have to turn the volume down. Sometimes you have to change a channel. Some people that were in your life that no longer serve you any good, or that are always bringing you down, or adding no value, but are takers. Sometimes you got to change the channel on some of those people, or people that are always in your ear and they're always talking negative and not sharing anything positive. Sometimes you got to turn the volume down on those people. And at a certain point, Tiffany, people keep on, and you just got to hit that power button and cut the power off, And then some people, their remote controls, they're not working because and it was a simple fix. You wonder why life is out of control. Thank the Holy Spirit is speaking tonight. But you wonder why things are out of whack, and you wonder why your remote control is not working. Well, baby, it's this thing on the back of the remote control that if you turn it over and you slip the back off and just put some new batteries in it, then the batteries, they'll do okay. You wonder why your remote control is not working. You don't have a charge. You don't have any power. But I know a man. I know a power source. I know my power source. I don't know what your power source. I don't know what you're connected to, and I don't knock anybody for what they do. You believe what you believe. And I believe what I believe, and I'm rolling with JC. And if I find out there's something different when I get to the end, then we'll go with that. But as it stands right now, I'm rolling with what I roll with, and I'm not knocking anybody for what they believe, because whatever gets you over, he said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Doesn't mean that others don't exist. It just means that his is first and mine. That's what I'm going with. I'm rolling with that one. So Elijah is under the juniper tree. He's under the juniper tree. He's requested that the Lord takes his life. He's been intoxicated. He's been provoked after being afraid, after becoming being the victor, and then all of a sudden becoming a victim. All of a sudden now he's in the grip of grace because the angel has shown up and said that this journey is too great for you. This is not where you're supposed to be. I don't know who I'm talking to right now. I don't know how many people will hear this in the next week or coming days, but wherever you are now, especially if you're in a state of depression, that is not where you're supposed to be. That's not where you're supposed to be. That's not your address. Let me say this about the juniper tree. The juniper tree was never meant to be a place of permanence. Some of y'all get around juniper trees and you want to put up a mailbox and fill out a change of address form. No, baby, this is temporary. And if you're there longer than 2 weeks, it's time to move. You better move, change your address, because it was never intended, never, ever intended for Elijah. He wasn't even supposed to be at the juniper tree. See, sometimes we'll take off running on our own. That was a good one too. Yeah, every now and then we'll take off running on our own, because the Bible says after he heard what he heard, he took off running a day's journey, dropped his servant off, and ran off by himself, hoping that he would die. What you running from? And whatever it is you're running from, where you are is not where you're supposed to be. And thankfully that while you are where you are, that God is omnipresent. There's no spot that he's not. He's everywhere at the same time. So he knows where you are, and he will dispatch angels. And the angel will come and strengthen you while you are where you are. Even in valleys, God shows up. Even in valleys, he shows up, because he's as much God of the hill as God of the valley as he is God of the hills. So as the scripture goes on, then Elijah moves on a little farther. And as he moves on farther is distance, right? Yeah, you further your education. But he moved on a little farther. And then the next thing you know, he's in a cave. And when he gets in the cave, typically you would think that's a bad place to be. But that's not always a bad thing, right? Because when you read it, you go to it. Let me read this. Hold on. I don't want to exit the page. He said he arose, verse number 8. Verse number 9 says, and he came thither into a cave. And thank you, Stacy Jacob. She blessed me with some stars. I appreciate that. Says, and he said, he came thither into a cave. And when he came into the cave and lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said unto him, he said, what doest thou here, Elijah? Why are you here? And he said, I've been very jealous of the Lord God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I am only, and I am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And I'm going to go a little bit further. And he says, go forth and stand up on the mountain. That's what God told him to do. Go stand up on the mountain. And when you go stand up on the mountain before the Lord, and the Lord passed by, and a great wind rent the mountain and break in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord wasn't in the earthquake. And after the earthquake was a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire was a small, still voice. And it was so when Elijah heard it that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in entering of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, what doest thou here? Listen, I mean, you can read it in your spare time. But what I want you to understand is that the juniper tree was never meant to be your destination. But thankfully, angels, Brenda Hinton Price, speak at juniper trees, but God speaks in caves. So no matter how deep or far or excluded how deep you think you are, how far you think you've fallen, how enclosed you think you are, or caved in, despite how the earthquakes may come, and despite how the wind may blow, and how the fire might do its damage, but despite all of the distractions that take place, guess what? God still speaks, and he speaks in a small voice. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I feel like in this season, whoever it is, because we're talking about depression, we're talking about mental health. If you're in that low place, I want to leave you with a few things. And let me put the phone number up because somebody else might also be dealing with depression or anything or something of that sort. Let me close some of these windows. But let me put the phone number up. Let me put the phone number up because if somebody else wants to tell their story, because Elijah survived, man. Elijah, he went from being victor, to victim. But then all of a sudden he gets his education in a cave. And God brings him through. So here it is. Good night. Good night. I appreciate you, Tiffany. I know I'd be on. I try to do most as I do this for my little Arkansas crowd. One day I'm about to change my time, y'all. I might go earlier. I ain't gonna lie. I might go earlier. But I want to give these coping things. I'm gonna put the phone number up because I ain't gonna be on too much longer. But I'm gonna give these 12 things to do to cope with depression. Because I want you to leave with something portable. So I'm going to give you 12 things you can do to cope with depression, but I'm also going to put the phone number up just in case somebody calls. But let me go ahead and and like I said, if you want to support the platform, I got Cash App, Zelle, and PayPal down there. So, if you want to support the platform, we would definitely appreciate your support. And that's the phone number, 404-860-2775. 860-2775. All right, so let's close. Because if I don't get any phone calls, I'm gonna go ahead and close. But let's close with some techniques that will help us with coping with depression. Okay, these are some techniques you can do to help you cope with depression. I appreciate you all for tuning in tonight, man. Y'all have been ground. Y'all, wow, God cut my comments off after I got that one comment. I would say y'all can't make me doubt him. I know too much about him. I promise you, you cannot make me doubt him. He literally cut the comments off. I can see him on my phone, but I can't see him where I normally see him at. He literally cut the comments off. That is why would I doubt a God like that? I mean, that is weird, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So these are some things we can do to cope with depression if we find ourselves dealing with depression. Number one, you need to identify your unique trigger. Identify your unique trigger. What is it that causes you to click, or what causes you to go off? What is your unique trigger? That's the first thing. You need to identify your unique trigger. If you all want to add something else, you can. I appreciate you. But you want to identify your unique trigger. Number two, and I didn't realize I had it. And I think I might have undervalued this. And if you have friends, you have something. You have something special. But you need to lean on your support network. Lean on your support network. If you have a support network, lean on your support network. I got you. I hear you, Stacy Jacob. That's what comes along with having a famous daughter. I guess. I don't know. But when I get back in town, I need to come visit your restaurant again. Thank you for confirming a lot of what I already knew and adding even more insight. Okay, thank you, Dana. I would put y'all's comments up, but God said I couldn't watch y'all's comments tonight because for whatever reason. So I'm gonna listen. Second, practice. This is a good one. Practice being present in the moment. Practice being present in the moment. Practice being present in the moment. So many times we allow ourselves to drift. We start seeing ourselves in other spaces, right? And we allow fear to step in. What is fear? Fear is false evidence that appears real. It's not real, right? So practice being present in the moment. The next thing you should do, you're welcome, Sue-Ann. Maybe start doing some physical activity. I did something last week that I haven't done in years. I started working out. And by the end of the week, y'all can laugh at me because I know some of y'all are in much more better shape than I am. And don't let the smooth taste fool you. I'm out of shape. But by the end of the week, I was up to 30 minutes on the treadmill. I was like 75 push-ups, 75 sit-ups, 50 push-ups. But I was starting to do it easier, because I was trying to work my way back in. So physical activity is good. Another thing, change your diet. Change your diet. You might need to take caffeine away. You might need to take sugar away. But do something Change your diet. Change your diet. Change your diet. Change your diet. Another thing, prioritize sleep. Let me tell y'all another story. I told y'all last couple of months I had been going through something. I was going through something. I really was. I was going through something, and I was losing sleep. Well, when I decided that I wasn't going to let that trigger me anymore, when I decided that what that person thought or what they thought no longer affected me because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't control their thoughts. Man, I've been sleeping like a baby. I mean, I've been, listen, I usually go to sleep. I usually fall asleep. I don't necessarily always go to bed. I'll fall asleep more than I go to bed. But lately I've been going to bed, and I might go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, 7. Last week, one night I went to bed at 7:30. But prioritizing sleep while you're depressed, that's powerful. Avoid alcohol and drugs while you're depressed. Why? Alters your state, intensifies the negative thoughts that you're already having, all those things. Avoiding alcohol and drugs. Set realistic goals. Set realistic and achievable goals. If you only made $15,000 last year, don't set a goal of $250 this year. Set a $30,000 goal. That's a 200% increase of what you made this year, of last year. Set realistic goals. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Avoid making important life decisions when you're depressed. That's not a good time to make decisions. It's people sitting in prison right now because they made a bad decision at the wrong time. They wasn't in a good, healthy space. That's what happens when you start going through mental illness. When you need to focus on mental health, the brain is unable to make a good decision when it's faced with an obstacle. But when you have when you have healthy thoughts, you can filter those, you can assess it, you can analyze it, you can work your way through it and make a good decision. Avoid making important life decisions. Invest in restorative self-care. Work out, all kind of stuff. Yeah. And then and if that doesn't work, seek professional help. Seek professional help. I didn't think I would ever be in therapy. I didn't. I'm in it. This morning I had my little session with her and she called me. She said, all right, let's start where we started last week. Let's talk about da 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 da. I said, I don't want to talk about that. I had a good weekend. Let's talk about that. She said, what? I said, I had a good weekend. Let's talk about that. Because I had been complaining and talking about bad stuff, and I ain't want to cry today. I had a good weekend. So I said, let's talk about the good stuff that happened to me this weekend. I went to a party. I did the electric slide. I dressed up. I'd say, let's talk about that. I want to talk about something positive because I ain't depressed right now. So let's help. And so in this season, I'm going to get all I can and can all I get. Let's plan some goals. Let's help me make some, let's help me make some good decisions because I'm in a good space right now. Right? Because I sought professional help. Seek professional help. Nothing wrong with that. And finally, my friend, if he were on here, he would tell you, Dr. Rayfield Evans would tell you, if medication is necessary, then do what you got to do. It's all about your mind and giving you the good mental health to get you in a good mental space that you need to be in. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, right? Elijah, he's living proof that things can be well. I never will forget. I'm not going to say his name, but he used to be Michael Jackson's lawyer. I saw James Brown literally before he passed away walk in the building to go to this lawyer's office. And so the man had millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars. And back then I had a little, if y'all knew my story, man, one day I'm going to tell y'all, but I was shining shoes for a couple of years because I didn't want to work in the car business and I wanted to be available. I was going through depression, man. I was shining shoes. Now, the Lord let me make for a little while like $1,000 a week doing it, because He'll give you grace. He'll sustain you, Akira. But and it wasn't because I was shining that many shoes. People just invested in me at that particular moment because God is God. But anyway, I walked in this lawyer's office to get his shoes one day. And this rich man, he's about 4'11", Dr. Charles E. Williams. Now he's probably about 5'3", 5'4". but super rich, because Elijah, like I told you, he was on top of the mountain one moment, but he's on the juniper tree asking God to kill him the next. So highs and lows do exist. So this man had Maybachs. He had a private plane. You know, he had all the luxuries of life. But when I walked in his office, his head was on his desk and he looked stressed out. And I said, I'm not going to say his name. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." He said, "I'm okay." He said, "James, close the door, close the door." He said, "People would think that because you're rich and you don't, you have all the money you need and all the niceties and the luxuries, that you don't have problems." He said, "It's just a different set of problems." I almost said his name. I caught myself. I said, "If you walked away from it all now, would you be okay? If you walked away from it all, could you retire and live life happily ever after?" He said, "I could." I said, let me drop this on you for free. I said, there's a great theologian by the name of Matthew Henry that said that existence does not deserve the name of life. Happiness does. And if you think that just because you're existing, you're living, man, you got life twisted. And he looked at me like, this Negro in here shining my shoes, and he talking to me. Yeah, bro. Because I had something that the world didn't give. And the world can't take away. And it allows me to walk in a boldness that you wouldn't even be able to conceive or conceptualize, right? So existence does not deserve the name of life. I need to tell somebody that tonight. Existence don't deserve the name of life. Happiness does. And if you're running around here depressed and upset all the time, man, you better start living. Let me just give y'all one of these.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
That's where I'm at. Real talk. Elijah was after killing 450 false prophets plus the other 400. What's 450 plus 4? Ain't that 850? He had 850 prophets killed. God showed up by fire when Baal didn't. God proved himself by allowing him to raise the widow's son from the dead. God allowed ravens to show up every day. Didn't let the brook dry up until he was ready for it to dry up. All those things. Took him through surgery with no anesthesia. Took him through the recovery room. Did it for him, allowed him to do it, allowed him to do more. But here he is under the juniper tree. Man, please. I don't know who I'm talking to, but somebody under the sound of my voice, you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you're not where you're supposed to be. And you laying on leaves that feel like pine needles and you're comfortable under a juniper tree. Man, get up. The tree was never your destination. The cave was the destination. And the only reason God wanted you to get in the cave, because see, some of us are, Dr. Williams, Bishop Williams, some of us are comfortable talking to angels, but I'm trying to get to the cave so I can hear the voice of God. I heard, yeah. I heard, yeah. I'm trying to get to the cave because I want to hear. But the sheep know the shepherd's voice. And a stranger. That's the word. Dr. Charles E. Williams just said it. Arise. Whoever it is. You've gone through your spirit of petrification. You were afraid. That's what got you under the juniper tree. That's cool. I get it. You've gone through petrification. You were petrified. You heard Jezebel's voice. And because you heard Jezebel's voice, it invoked a little fear in you. You went through a spirit of petrification. But thankfully, after your spirit of intoxication, because we do go through intoxication, and those leaves were used to make something that was similar to liquor. You went through that. But even through the intoxication, God took you through a spirit of provocation. He provoked you until you moved. You know why? That's why you're not comfortable. Oh, he's helping me right now. That's why you're not comfortable. That's why you're having trouble getting your bills paid. That's why your credit is bad. That's because you're not where you're supposed to be. When I got where I was supposed to be, I ain't gonna lie, I paid my rent late every month for 2 or 3 years. I would pay my child support before I paid my rent. I ain't gonna lie, I would come home every month and expect to get evicted. But I wasn't where I was supposed to be. But when I got where I was supposed to be, I haven't paid rent late in years. And Sue Ann, you know me, I haven't had a real job, thank God, you know me, but I get income. But that's only happens when you're where you're supposed to be. And that's why I was angry with myself a couple of months ago, when I almost made a U-turn and went back to the same couch that God had delivered me from. I tried to go back to a juniper tree that God had delivered me from. And then all of a sudden on the way back, I looked at the mirror and said, oh, there you are. Here I am. And I'm back. And because I knew I had a bout with it, I knew somebody else was dealing with it. And that's why I switched this platform to mental health, because there's somebody that's not where they are supposed to be. But if I can provoke you enough, if I can help you become aware of your adult triggers, if I can help you look at the metaphorical mirror, and sometimes it's not just the metaphorical mirror that's in front of you, it's the rearview mirror that God allows you to see what's behind you. Because some of y'all got to look back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and see what it was that has you locked up, that has you chained up because you never got delivered from what had held you hostage back then. I know he touched you. I know she touched you. But you're not where you're supposed to be. But you got to get there, because purpose is all over your life. Oh, God, I'm feeling this tonight. Purpose is all over your life. And your purpose is bigger than your problem. Your purpose is bigger than your pain. His anger endureth for a night, but joy in his favor is light. But if light, that's Isaiah 40 that needs to know it. Isaiah 55. If favor, if there's light in his favor, then why are we walking in darkness? Shot my. In his favor is light. It's anger endure for. Yeah. So whoever's under the juniper tree, that's don't. If you put about, let me just say it like this, because we serve a gracious God. He's married to the backslider. He don't just throw us away like y'all do, right? Where's this book at? I'm reading this book, and I read something today that blessed me, y'all. And I'm gonna read it to y'all right quick. If y'all don't read, start reading for real. I mean, that's just really read. I mean, we need to help expand. This is Stu Nation. This is the intellectual Stu. If you don't read, start reading, because it unlocks certain things. But I read a powerful quote today, Dr. Williams. But look what it said. Because it's called How to Win. The name of the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's talking about, when the first principle in that book is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. But it's a man in the book, Dr. Johnson, who he's quoting. He says something that's powerful. And I'm going to say this real slow because I want y'all to hear it. In fact, I'm going to do a dramatic pause before I read it. I'm going to drink a little sip of water because I want to make sure you don't miss any of this. Y'all see my little intellectual stew tumbler. But this was the most profound thing I read today. And I'm so glad I read it about 7:15 this morning, because it really helped me with the trajectory of my day. But this is what I read. As Dr. Johnson said, God himself, sir, does not propose to judge man until the end of his days. So the question is, and it's a rhetorical question, why should you and I? If God waits until the end to judge, I drank it already, Dr. Williams. If God himself does not propose to judge man until the end of his days, then who are we to try to judge somebody? Yeah. But y'all stuff don't stink. I get it. Y'all on your way to heaven and enjoying the trip. Man, my life got better when I started giving people a margin for error. It did. Because I know I'm not, may not be all that I should be. But thank God I'm not who I used to be. But I'm definitely not who I desire to be. Why? Because I'm forever, and hear me well when I say it, I am forever under construction. Forever. On next week, we'll see what the Lord says, and you know what? If He don't give me nothing new, we'll keep talking about Elijah, because he definitely went through his spirit of depression. There's some other people who have gone through some depression. David went through depression. David went through serious bout with depression. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It just says it over already. We've been on for an hour and a half, and I appreciate you all, those that do hang out with us. But if you want to be a blessing to the platform, one of these days y'all gonna start blessing us. Y'all gonna show me some appreciation and say, Pastor Kirkland, James Kirkland, we sure appreciate you. Here, $5 is, $2 is, $12 is. But if you want to be a blessing, it is Cash App, the Intellectual Stew, INT. Did I spell it? Intellectual Stew. That's what it is. Cash App, the Intellectual Stew. That's one way to do it. Or you can hit us up on Cash App, Zelle, or PayPal. All right. It's been real. Lisa, Bishop Charles E. Williams, Sue Ann, Viola, Elder Lisa Smith, all of you all who chimed in with us tonight. I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all. Y'all don't realize we're building something here. We're building something here. And y'all grow with me. I promise you all, we're gonna come out better when it's all said and done. I promise you all. Y'all say good night to each other. I want y'all to learn each other's names. Start to communicate with each other in the comments, because if I keep getting comments like I got tonight that throw me off, I promise I can't read them. I'm gonna have to have somebody else read them for me. And I'm sure y'all understand that, right? I appreciate you too, Elder Lisa Smith. I appreciate you all. I appreciate y'all. My bishop, you getting on too late, man. I'm just finishing up, but you wanna go back and check this one. This was a good one tonight. We talked about Elijah under that juniper tree dealing with depression. But what the hard part for me with that whole story is, Bishop Williams, is how he went from victor to victim, all because of a voice. But the voice wasn't the voice he had been hearing. He was a prophet. He knew what God's voice sounded like, but he allowed Jezebel's voice to shake it. What voices have you allowed to shake you? I'm on my way out. I got to go because I'll start preaching again. Oh, Lord. I'm going to turn my music up. All right, so y'all be a blessing to the platform. There it is. I'm out. See y'all next week.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland. Intellectual stew. Intellectual